the Garden of Peace. For 4,000 years, not a single human had died in war. There were no armies, no borders, no flags. Earth had become a garden, not just of biology, but of thought, of patience, of peace. Across hundreds of worlds, humanity had spread like soft rain, never as conquerors, always as healers, terraformers, silent observers. Children were taught not of violence, but of empathy. Soldiers had long become historians, their weapons turned into sculpture. AI governed logistics. Conflict was calculated, measured, resolved long before it ever found fire. The galaxy called them ancients, not because of age, but because of restraint. Their minds could birth suns, and yet they farmed algae on moons. They were feared not for what they did, but for what they might do if ever provoked. The Galactic Empire never believed the stories. They saw humanity as a hollow myth, a race of cowards hiding behind philosophy and peace treaties. The Empire had carved its territory in blood, enslaving lesser species, toppling resistance, consuming star systems with fire and cold decree. It was inevitable they would cross paths with Earth. The planet Aurelia was a humanitarian outpost, home to a small population of 900 humans, mostly women, doctors, diplomats, engineers, tasked with restoring a war-ravaged ecosystem once devastated by the Empire's early expansion. No weapons, no defenses, just green fields, wind towers, and children born under two suns. The Empire claimed Aurelia was within its resource reclamation corridor. The Council of Earth responded with peace offers, compromise, even generous trade deals. The Empire responded with an ultimatum: evacuate, or be removed. The Council refused, not in defiance, but in principle. They did not expect Admiral Severin, a zealot of the old Purge doctrine, to act unilaterally. On a quiet morning, while dew still clung to the petals of solar bloom orchids, Empire dropships descended. There was no warning, no negotiation. Within 4 hours, every human on Aurelia was dead. Of the 900 killed, 500 were women, many of them pregnant, many unarmed, many holding children in their arms. The massacre was broadcast across the stars. Severin called it a demonstration of final authority. Footage showed bodies stacked in the wind farms, a nurse clutching a bloodied datapad, a girl singing to her brother before the fire consumed them both. The Empire expected silence. Instead, they got it. For 48 hours, Earth said nothing. No communiques, no responses, no movement. The galaxy waited breathless. On the 49th hour, something ancient stirred beneath the Martian crust. A red flare rose from the ice plains of Europa. A signal, broadcast on every frequency. A single word, old and human and final. Awaken. In the void between stars, satellites long thought derelict blinked to life. Quantum forges, once silent, began to hum. Moon-sized engines unfolded. Sleeper fleets, hidden in comet fields, realigned toward the galactic core. And still, Earth said nothing. The Empire laughed, until the first outpost on the neutral rim vanished. No distress signal, no debris, just empty silence. Then the next vanished, and the next. Entire fleets went dark. By the end of the week, 12 Imperial starcruisers had disappeared without trace. On the 7th day, Earth finally responded. A single courier ship was permitted to land on the Imperial capital world. No weapons, no escort. Inside, they found a coffin. Within it, Admiral Severin, or what was left of him. There was no flesh, only his nervous system, alive, twitching, and wrapped in energy bindings. His mind had been kept intact, forced to relive the screams of every woman he killed in a recursive AI feedback loop. Attached was a message. For 4,000 years, we offered peace. You chose pain. Now you will understand the price of memory. The eternal war had begun, and the galaxy would never know peace again. The first roar. The stars began to blink out, not from distance or time, but from precision. Human retaliation did not roar. It whispered, surgically. Empire listening posts on the rim stopped transmitting. Their coordinates scrubbed clean. Patrol fleets disappeared mid-jump. leaving no distress signals, no black box trails. At first, the Empire assumed malfunction, then sabotage. Then, finally, they understood. Earth had spoken. The galaxy trembled. Human war protocols, dormant for 4 millennia, reactivated in silence. The Aegis vaults, hidden beneath the surface of barren moons, cracked open. From their cores emerged vessels of unimaginable scale, leviathans, kilometers long, plated in obsidian nanosteel and powered by antimatter hearts. They bore no markings, no names, only purpose. And still, no declaration of war was issued. No formal engagement, just removal. On the Empire's frontier world of Veltras, the sky split open. A leviathan descended, silent and dark, casting a shadow over cities of 10 million. The Empire scrambled fighters, mobilized ground defenses. The leviathan never fired. Instead, it pulsed. One rhythm, one wave, an emission of high-frequency light tuned to a precise frequency. Every piece of Imperial technology, ships, satellites, implants, froze. Shut down. Rewritten. Within 90 seconds, Veltras went dark. No fire, no battle, just the erasure of infrastructure, memory, and command. The Empire had known thousands of wars, but they had never fought ghosts. Human operatives, enhanced beyond natural form, began appearing across Imperial command hubs. They moved without sound, cloaked in AI-generated blind zones. Single agents wiped entire battalions using gravity knives and viral nanites. They spoke only once before killing. You are the echo. We are the correction. 12 Empire fleets gathered to strike back. Flagships with solar lances, dreadnoughts crewed by millions, carriers the size of cities. They advanced toward Tau Korea, where human presence had last been detected. Only one ship returned. Its hull was ruptured. Its AI lobotomized. The crew had clawed out their own eyes. They babbled of a ship made of light and metal, speaking in voices layered 1,000-fold, showing them the deaths of Aurelia's women through their own memories. The message was clear. You will know what they felt. You will carry their terror in your blood. You will beg to forget. From the ruins of Saranth, a neutral trade world caught in the crossfire, came the only surviving footage of a human leviathan in action. Blurred, distorted by gravitational interference, it showed a single beam of invisible force slicing an entire city from bedrock. It didn't explode. It vanished, cut clean from reality like a page torn from a book. The galactic newsnets refused to play the footage. The screaming in the background, raw animal, was too much. The Empire finally sent envoys to Earth, draped in white, their heads bowed. They came with reparations. Tributes. Please. They begged for forgiveness. Earth never replied. Instead, from the moons of Jupiter, a new broadcast emerged. It played across every channel, on every world. Not from politicians, not from soldiers, but from a child. A recorded voice from Aurelia, a little girl, maybe 6 years old, whispering softly into a microphone moments before the massacre. If I die, tell the stars we were kind. We tried. We really did. The message ended, and below it, a final declaration, stamped in cold white. There will be no forgiveness, only memory. From that moment on, the war was no longer about strategy, no longer about territory. It became a war of grief. Every life lost on Aurelia was etched into Earth's memory cores. Every human operative knew their names. Every enemy encountered was judged, not as a soldier, but as a defiler of peace. And when the Empire realized that they had not just provoked a civilization, but awakened an extinction protocol, it was already far too late. The silence between the stars was broken. And now came the roar, the silence between stars. The Empire stopped sending fleets, not because they had none left, but because they had lost the will to fight. Commanders whispered of phantom fleets, human constructs that phased in and out of space-time, ships that appeared behind lines already considered secure. They attacked from nowhere, struck without warning, and vanished before alarms could sound. Entire battle groups returned to base only to find the base no longer existed. Cities were left untouched, but empty. Machines sterilized. Communications jammed by loops of children's voices from Aurelia, repeating the same 6 words. We were kind. We tried. The Empire begged for mercy. They surrendered entire star systems without resistance. Planetary governors defected. High admirals turned their own guns on themselves rather than face capture. But Earth never came to negotiate. Humanity wasn't interested in victory. It was interested in removal. Each target was selected with deliberate calculation, not by size or strategic value, but by relevance to the atrocity on Aurelia. Anyone who authorized, supported, or benefited from it became a marked name in the Archive of Ashes, a data ledger stored inside a Dyson vault orbiting Proxima Centauri. No one could hack it. No one could stop it. Once your name appeared, your world had days, sometimes hours. On the planet Korath, a known logistics hub for the Empire supply line to Aurelia, a transmission arrived. Prepare your people for evacuation. We only want the guilty. The planet's governor complied. Civilians fled. A day later, a human weapon unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen dropped from orbit, a kinetic silence bomb. It didn't explode. It simply erased motion. Everything stopped. Forever. Ships frozen mid-launch. People trapped mid-step. Even wind no longer moved. The governor, known for laughing during the broadcast of the Aurelia executions, was found sitting at his desk, eyes wide in final understanding. Statues now, the entire planet, a frozen museum of guilt. The Empire's core world, Hessa, attempted one last defense. They deployed a fortress shield array, built across 7 moons, powered by 5 suns. It was said no fleet could break it. Humanity never attacked. Instead, the star Hessa orbited simply died. No warning. No nova. One moment it burned. The next, it was gone. In the darkness that followed, the entire Hessa system was swallowed by an engineered quantum storm. Every ship inside was lost. Every transmission ended in static. No one ever heard from them again. The galaxy cried out, not in protest, but in terror. They remembered the stories now, that humanity once ruled with weapons so advanced they could end time on a planetary scale, that they once erased a black hole by rewriting gravity with thought, that they chose peace, not out of weakness, but out of guilt. Now guilt had become wrath. The remnants of the Empire formed a delegation. Leaders of the remaining species, bowed and bloodied, knelt before the Council of Earth in orbit around Saturn, begging for the war to end. They offered servitude, apologies, genuflection. They sent a child, an orphan from Aurelia, rescued and raised among their own, hoping emotion might stay the hand of extinction. She stepped forward, trembling, and asked the question that haunted every surviving Empire citizen. Why won't you stop? From behind the glass of the Saturn Ring citadel, the council speaker finally answered. Not with hate, not with rage, just calm, ancient sorrow. We stopped once, and it cost 500 lives. Then he leaned forward. This isn't revenge. This is preservation. So that no one forgets what happens when you mistake kindness for fear. The girl began to cry. The humans did not comfort her. Instead, they handed her a book. Its title, The Last Words of Aurelia. Then they vanished. Their fleets, their agents, their presence, gone from the systems that once burned. And yet, the silence they left behind was not peace. It was a warning, a memory encoded into the stars, a promise that humanity did not end wars. It ended empires, the eternal war. The Galactic Empire was dead. Its banners, once hoisted over 10,000 systems, now drifted as cosmic debris. No coronation, no final stand, just absence, silence. But humanity did not return to peace. Because peace had rules. Peace required memory. And the galaxy had shown it could forget. So Earth built something new. Not an empire. Not a republic. A machine of remembering. They called it the Eternal Vigil. From the outer arms of the Orion Spur to the dying stars of Scutum Centaurus, human vessels patrolled the dark like specters, unchallenged, unmatched, and unwilling to fade. They bore no names. No flags. only etched symbols, the names of the 500. Each vessel operated independently. Some carried thousands of augmented operators, others single AIs infused with the souls of fallen diplomats or medics. Their missions were not conquest. They were correction. Any government, warlord, or rising power showing signs of the old empire's cruelty, suppression, genocide, slavery, was met with one warning. Remember Aurelia? If they didn't, they vanished. Entire moons turned inside out. Stars rewritten. DNA strands and leaders subtly recoded so that future generations could no longer speak lies. On Vor 9, a rising technocratic regime banned refugees from a dying neighbor world. Within 24 hours, the planet's sun emitted a unique pattern, a voice. We tried. We really did. Then it collapsed into a singularity. No physical trace of Vor 9 remained. The galaxy grew quiet, fearful, reverent. Alien species told their young stories of Earth, not as gods, but as watchers. Legends spread of humans who walked between atoms, who carried the memories of pain so deep they wept in their sleep. Even now, no one knew how many humans were left. Some believed they had become one with their machines. Others whispered of Earth itself being hollow, filled with machines and minds forever grieving. One thing was clear. Humanity had chosen eternity, not for dominance, but for duty. The eternal war was not a battle of flesh and metal. It was a war against forgetting. Forget what kindness costs. Forget what fear looks like when provoked. Forget that even the most peaceful hands can shape fire when pushed. 1,000 years passed, and still the vigil watched. One day, on the edge of a forgotten system, a small boy named Jaxel, born to a post-Empire species, found a buried probe. It was old, human design, but corroded, cracked. When activated, a single voice played. It belonged to a human girl. "Hi, my name is Lila. I lived on Aurelia. I used to feed the birds. I wanted to be a star farmer." She giggled. "If you find this, I hope your world is kind. I hope people smile. I hope no one is scared." Then silence. Then the tag. File 500/500. Final memory bank complete. The probe burned itself out. Jaxel told no one, but he remembered the girl's voice. Years later, when his planet voted to militarize their orbit to prevent migrants from entering, Jaxel stood in protest. Alone. That night, the stars above his city shifted. Human pattern recognition lasers drew a single word across the night sky in ancient Earth script. "We're watching." His government backed down. It always happened that way. Not because of human threats, but because somewhere in the bones of the galaxy, everyone knew. Earth never truly forgave. Not completely. Not when 500 names still echoed in every databank, in every AI's dream, in every pulse of subspace surveillance. They had ended the war against the Empire. But the war against forgetting? That war never ended. It would never end, because humanity remembered. And they had built a future where forgetting was no longer an option. Final line. And so the stars remained lit, not with hope, but with memory. For in the silence after genocide, humanity found its final purpose, to be the guardian of pain, the keeper of peace bought with blood, and the fire that would never let it happen again.